What is up, YouTube? Vinyl community. Eric Bauer, High Defamation Television, back some 3 weeks later. I know I promised some more consistency than I've been putting out. Shit happens, as it always does. I had some health concerns, ended up in the hospital for a minute, and haven't been in the proper mindset to lay down really anything. I've got a crazy cat right now. You hear that, right? Henry, what are you doing? You need attention? All right, good talk. Where was I? Wasn't in the mindset for YouTube. Watching, sure. Contributing, not so much. But I started thinking about stuff that I had on my plate that I wanted to do for YouTube. Just watched the cat eat a hairball off of the, not a hairball, but just like a clump of hair. Cat hair, that is, off the couch. It's pretty gross. I'm distracted. Where was I? Started thinking about the things that I had potentially on my plate in terms of content. We will probably do a part 2 for the movies of October. That'll probably be at the end of the month, though, maybe Halloween. And a bunch of hardcore shit coming up. I've been listening to a lot of it, especially some posy shit like that fucking Gorilla Biscuits behind me. But I've really been thinking about jazz. Now, I know I did a video on jazz, like April, and it's 6 months later. Where are we at with that? That experiment, that grand experiment of enriching my cultural intake with the tunes of jazz. I kind of love it. I'm still listening to it a lot. Still buying jazz. And we're going to talk about it for another half hour. I'm still not, I still don't really know a whole ton about it. I know when I hear something and I like it, it clicks. So let's get into it. Now here's something I've talked about before. This is probably still my favorite album that I've discovered since getting into jazz. Don Cherry, Eternal Now. It's funny, it's listed on the tape as the Don Cherry Trio. Here he's playing with 4 other people, all Swedes. This album's amazing. It's affirming. It's has an overwhelming sense of creativity and exploration and ingenuity. It's free jazz, but it grooves. It has melody. It has a lot of wondrous elements to it. New bits that you discover every time you hear it. I picked this up early on, and I still can't get enough of it. It's fucking amazing. A little bit newer than that. This John Coltrane, Impressions. This is a Impulse release. I like this album a lot. Do I like it as much as Giant Steps, which I talked about in the first video? I don't think I do. But it's up there with, say, Kulu Se Mama, which is an album that I really like by Coltrane, that I don't really hear discussed that often. But I would put that up there with like Ascension. Probably wouldn't put Ohm up there. Ohm is an interesting experiment, and it's still a little bit rough for me to get through. I get what's happening on that record, but it's a tough listen. This is not in comparison. Is it a Love Supreme? No. Is it Blue Train? No. Is it Soul Train? No. But it's a great record. I'm stoked on it, and it'll get spun a whole lot more. I've been buying jazz on CDs too, because I've still got one of those things that you call a CD player in my whip as they call it, as the youth calls vehicles these days. What do we got? This is another early pickup. Monk, Straight No Chaser. This album is it's amazing. There's several Monk albums that I really like. I wouldn't say this is my favorite. I really like Underground, probably. I like it a lot, actually, except for that last track. This album, I feel like there's no throwaway tracks on this album. A couple bonuses on here because it's a CD. But yeah, Straight No Chaser, awesome record. Dare I call it a fun record? Because that's kind of what I get out of it. It's very playful as far as the arrangements go. His piano. One of the things I really appreciate about Monk's ensembles is that while he's the band leader, he allows the other players to have their moments as well. In this case, Charlie Rouse on tenor is fucking great. Larry Gales on bass, also great. Ben Riley on drums, another great. And they all shine equally, in my opinion, on this record. I like it a lot. It goes in the car with me fairly often. This one's a little bit newer for me. It's another CD. The Blues and Abstract Truth. This is a Oliver Nelson project. Even though his name is listed oddly fourth down, below Bill Evans, Roy Haynes, Eric Dolphy, who, you're going to be probably seeing a lot of Eric Dolphy. Eric Dolphy, yeah, he's on this right here. I'm not going to go there just yet. This album's great. First time I picked this up, I put it in the CD player immediately, and I just drove basically until the CD ended, and then I turned around and replayed it. I talk about high points on here, but I don't know. I feel like this whole thing is a high point. I want to say this was 61 when this came out, if my research didn't fail me. On Impulse. This is one of those nice Impulse CDs. I have quite a few of these actually at this point. In fact, you'll see another one shortly. But yeah, this is, like I said, fairly new to me over the last month or two. I fucking love it. It's great. Here's another one. Picked up at the same time. The Roland Kirk Quartet. Rip, Rig, and Panic. This album is amazing. It's incredible. It's a lot more accessible than a lot of the jazz that I've been listening to, which is something I really, really appreciate. When you can make a record exploratory, but at the same time accessible, so that you don't alienate listeners who might otherwise shy away from all of the freedom that you generally find within like free jazz. I don't even know if this is technically considered free jazz. Roland Kirk was a multi-instrumentalist, well known for playing several woodwind instruments simultaneously, which seems insane. But here's a picture of him right here with like 3 saxophones in front of him, or like 2 saxophones and a clarinet. I don't know. This is a reissue, obviously, because it's on CD. I want to say originally this was like 65 or 66. It also features Now Please Don't You Cry, Beautiful Edith, An album that I don't like as much as Rip, Rig, and Panic. Rip, Rig, and Panic. Again, it's another one like that Monk. There's no low points on the album, and it is a record that has peaks and crescendos and valleys, and it's a fun listen. It's jubilant almost, and it ends hilariously with slippery, hippery, flippery. I mean, what a title! But like the title track, Rip, Rig, and Panic. Jeez, Rip, Rig, and Panic. That title track, great. No Tonic Press, the opening track, amazing. Really sets the tone for what you're going to hear on the album. Just an awesome listen. Need it on wax, really. I'd like to be able to spin this at home. I mean, I can spin it at home. I got a CD player right there, but just want it on record, man. It's so good. And then I thought about pulling Tawheed by Pharoah Sanders. It was one of the first, like, kind of spendy records I bought when getting into jazz. I love that record still. It's amazing. From the guitars of Sonny Sharrock to the sax of Pharoah and everybody else involved on that album is an amazing testament to what you can do with free jazz and how inspirational you can make it. This is another Pharoah Sanders record. It's also free jazz. It's the album he followed up Tawheed with, Karma. This album is so different from the one that precedes it, to my ears. It's even more expressive, even more jubilant, and joyous. 2 tracks. First one's like 30 minutes long. On vinyl, I'm sure that's split in half. And then just, a final 5-minute closer on the CD. Again, it's an Impulse release. They put out these cool digis on CD. I have, like I said, several. This is probably my favorite one of the ones that I picked up. Maybe aside from 3-album, like double disc Impulse CD for Coltrane's Ascension, Kulu Se Mama, and Home. That one gets spun a lot as well. But this is an incredible record. It's one, again, I'd love to find on wax. In fact, I found myself watching the latest video from Mazzy. Well, not the latest video from Mazzy, because let's face it, that fucking guy puts up at least one video a day. Like 2 days ago, he did a video from Seattle Record Convention, which I missed because I was all fucked up. And he flipped right past this LP. Maybe he already had it. Maybe he just doesn't know the wonder and amazingness contained herein. I don't know. Fucking excellent. So, let's get on to some actual vinyl. And with most of these, I'm not really going to go super in depth. This is more like a checkup or check-in. So, the first one is this Mingus. Charles Mingus presents Charles Mingus, featuring Eric Dolphy again. This album is amazing. It's a live record, 4 tracks. 4 tracks. Just one of the tracks is really long. It's like 2 song titles. This record, again, like I said, it's live. One of the draws to this record for me is his fucking banter between tracks. Just great. Folk Form, number 1, the opener. Awesome. Then they get political. Original Faubus Fables. Orville Faubus, governor of Arkansas, blocked school integration with the National Guard, basically preventing people of color from integrating into white schools. Also, a fucking Democrat. Shameful. What love celebratory, anthemic, joyous, an amazing track. And of course, all the things you could be by now if Sigmund Freud's wife was your mother. I mean, this album, there's not much that I, as a noob, or a relative noob, what a dumb word, to this genre, could say about Mingus that, smarter and more seasoned people have not already. Wise, but also containing a very wily sense of fun. Just great record. Love it. It's funny, when I was younger, I discovered this band called The Nation of Ulysses, and they have this album called Plays Pretty for Baby, and it's designed like an Impulse record, and that's probably where I first became aware of the fact that jazz didn't have to be all Kenny G or Chuck Mangione. I got into some of the surface stuff, like, of course, some Miles, some Coltrane, Cannonball, some Monk, a little bit of Mingus, but I never really delved too far into it. So getting back into it, I kind of thought that my preferences would sway towards the more abstract. And there's plenty of abstract stuff that I've really clenched my teeth into. But just as much hard bop, honestly, of the accessible stuff that I've really kind of fallen in love with. Destination Out, Jackie McLean. I love this record. It's fucking incredible. It's atmospheric. It's almost sullen. It is a languid record. Just great. In the band on this, we got Gracchus Mancour III on trombone, Bobby Hutcherson on vibes, the vibraphone, which is really what adds that moody atmosphere to this record, the way that he plays it and the way that he's featured on these tracks, these 4 tracks. Three of the four written by Mancour, the third, Khalil the Prophet, Jackie McLean original. You've got Larry Ridley on bass, great. Roy Haynes on drums, also great. This was kind of a grail. I spent a little bit on this. It's a 71 press, I believe. Blue Note. Just killer. Awesome fucking record. Again, it's funny, when I was first getting into this and talking to various people like Fred Putterman, Aaron, Metal Theologian, people at my locals, and kind of like discussing hard bop versus post bop versus free jazz. And it always came up with, if you're thinking of what people think of as jazz or hard bop, they generally will think of something that is related to this guy, Art Blakey. Indestructible. This record, of the Art Blakeys that I've gotten into, this is by far my favorite. This is one of those 83 French presses, direct metal mastering. Sounds fucking amazing. But I'd probably say that even if it wasn't this particular pressing. Lee Morgan, Curtis Fuller, Wayne Shorter, another favorite. Cedar Walton on piano, Reginald Workman on bass, Art Blakey, of course, on drums, Lee Morgan's trumpet, incredible playing on here. Won't be the last time you hear Lee Morgan's name in this video. And look at that fucking cover. Right now, I'm having to quit nicotine and tobacco, and seeing these pictures of these fine gentlemen smoking cigarettes has me feeling a lot of FOMO right now. It's fear of missing out for you non-millennials, or you not versed in the millennial speak. In fact, I had to have that defined for me not too long ago myself. So, yeah, I love this record. It's a fun, sometimes bombastic, driving hard bop record. It's fucking awesome. again, like I said, my favorite of the Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers that I've heard so far. Love it. Up there, another one with fucking Lee Morgan contributing. Larry Young. Now I know when people talk about Larry Young, and rightfully so, they generally talk about Unity. And that album's amazing. It's my favorite Larry Young. That one was another grail. I've got a kind of an older copy. I wanted it that badly. I know it just got reissued, but I was impatient. This is an album that was not released until 1980, even though it was recorded in 1969. Mothership. It's not a comp. It was put out by the Blue Note Classic Series, who, and this is an ugly cover. Come on. Come on, Blue Note. Oh, I didn't do it. I don't know if you can hear that. Terrible cover, though. Amazing album. Every song on here, like Unity, is good. Especially the lead-off track, Mothership, is fucking amazing. Lead-off track for the B-side, Trip Merchant, amazing. In fact, my only complaint on here is the track order. That last track, Love Drops, probably should have come at the end of side 1, and Visions should have followed Trip Merchant on side 2, because Love Drops is really the weakest link on this record, but it's a minor complaint. Even that's a good track, but the rest are stellar. Larry Young on organ, and his organ playing, I've become somewhat infatuated with organ-based jazz ensembles like Jimmy Smith, Lonnie Smith, Jack McDuff, moon rapping. Fucking what a record. That one's a little bit new to me as well, so I didn't pull it, but I did pick up that new recent reissue. Larry Young is a little bit different. He's a bit more subdued. He kind of stays in the background a little bit more. He does feature himself, as you would if it was your album. Lee Morgan on trumpet, killer. Herbert Morgan, tenor saxophone, no relation to Lee. Eddie Gladden on drums. It's just a wonderful ensemble with a wonderful, kind of underrated record. It's definitely overshadowed by its predecessors, especially Unity. But well worth a listen. One that I'd like to see talked about in the VC more often than I do. Just rad. Another one, a little bit early pickup for me. Let's take it out of the plastic. Get that glare off. Eric Dolphy, Iron Man. This is a 71 press, if I'm not mistaken. And it is a little beat. You see a seam split, maybe, all on the top. Vinyl is great. Hardly a scratch on it. But it was cheap. One of my locals picked it up. I had previously picked up Out to Lunch, which I was still kind of trying to wrap my head around when I purchased this. This is way more accessible than Out to Lunch. Honestly, I'm going to say it, I like this record better than Out to Lunch. It was recorded before Out to Lunch. I want to say 63 for Iron Man? I could be wrong. This is a band consisting of not too many people. And it has like a big band sort of feel to it almost. It does have moments of that Eric Dolphy free jazz quirk, but it's also very accessible. It's like a going theme today. And celebratory. It is a fun record. I love it. I love its sense of wonder and exploration and explosivity when it does get those crescendos, those peaks in all the tracks. Just an incredible record. I love it. What's next? Here's a record that I coveted basically since I was introduced to it by our own metal theologian. That would be Grant Green with Green Street, his first record. And also, of all the Grant Green that I've heard, my favorite of his. I put this up there with Midnight Blue, Kenny Burrell. You got Grant Green on guitar, Ben Tucker on bass, Dave Bailey on drums. Just a three-piece. Just awesome record. It's very sparse. It's very relaxed. Again, languid. And it's basically a blues record. It has those elements of jazz that you'll hear in later Grant Green records, like the Latin Bit or Easy Street. But to me, this is the best I've heard him. Just reserved, not trying to be ostentatious, even though his guitar playing just shreds. It's incredible. And it's funny because when I started off on this journey of listening to jazz, I shied away from most guitar jazz, and now I'm listening to a lot of it. Just an awesome record. I love this thing. It just it makes me smile. I put it on and I can't help it. It puts me in a good mood, and I've needed that lately. So there's that. And a lot of that's kind of motivated me to look for contemporary shit. And these, again, I'm not going to spend a long time on. The title of the video, as it were, is a dude who still knows very little about jazz talks about it for another half hour. We're almost at that point. So this is contemporary within like the last 15 to 20 years. Boren and their Club of Gore. It's fucking super slowed down, doomy airport jazz played by ex-hardcore grindcore kids from Germany. Just an awesome record. And you got tracks on here called like Prowler, On Demon Wings, Midnight Walker, Darkstalker, Night Wolf, Dead End Angels. Just an awesome record, double LP. Love that art. That's basically what the record sounds like if you're, say, serial slasher on the lam at an airport bar. This is what you'd hear. It's just awesome. Everything by Boren and their Club of Gore is incredible. This is a little bit newer. Enrique Rodriguez and the Negra Chiwe Band, put out by Soul Jazz Records. Fosse Liminal is the album title. These guys are from Chile. And it's soul jazz, and it's amazing, transcendent, celebratory, just happy, joyous music. At the same time, expansive and ambient and introspective. It's great. There's a lot of different elements going into this album, and you can tell that they're influenced by a lot of the greats. You hear Coltrane on here, Sanders for sure, Alice Coltrane, elements of her on here as well, Dolphy, and then world music. They touch on a lot of world music. You hear a lot of nods to some of that fusion that Fela Kuti was doing in the 70s as well. Just a rad project, and I hope to see more releases from this group. This came out in 2020. And then this band is local to me. I'm not sure when this was originally released. This is a reissue of, I believe, the second Delvin Lamar organ trio album, I Told You So. I think Close But No Cigar was the first record. And then, of course, they had a record out this year that we're going to be talking about when we get towards the end of the year. This album is gritty. It's grimy. It sounds like the soundtrack to an exploitation flick from the 70s that might have starred Jim Brown or Pam Grier. Just a killer record. Organ in the front, of course, played by Delvin Lamar. You've got guitar from Jimmy James, Grant Schroff on drums. Just an awesome project. It's not like something that's going to make you introspective or really think about much. It's just a fun record to put on and just enjoy the sounds therein. Rad project. And that's basically a sampling of what I've delved into in this particular realm of music. So all that said, I'm done. I've got nothing else. Thank you for watching, engaging down below where the comments are. If you know me, you know I respond all the time, every comment. I don't ignore whatever it is you have to say unless it's totally stupid. And even then I might respond. Keep up the banter. It's like I say every time, it's the reason I keep doing this. I'm out, YouTube. We'll see you in the next one.